In this video, I will demonstrate how to create an event request using 25 Live Pro. Once you sign into 25 Live Pro using single sign-on, you will land on the main dashboard. As you can see, the main dashboard contains a lot of information related to statuses, searches, and functionality available in 25 Live Pro. We will focus on 1. Accessing the request form for submitting event requests. 2. Examining and completing the required information for our event. 3. Submitting the request form. And 4. Viewing the details of the request and its status in the approval process. Let's begin. In the upper right corner, you'll see the event form, which will launch the event request form. Notice, I have the ability as a 25 Live or 25 Live administrator to change to any form that's available in the system. But since you will not be an administrator more than likely, you're going to be assigned one single request form based on the security group that you are tied to. However, the elements of your form and my form will be very similar. So, the very first element we get to is event name. So, we're going to call this our first request. The next element on the form is the event title for campus calendars. You're not required to publish your event to a calendar, so we're going to go ahead and skip this element within the request form. The next element is a required field, and it's the event description. And we're going to call it a fun event. And as you can see, you can actually decorate this information, bold, underline, underscore, all of the familiar icons that you would see with a normal Word type document. The next element on the form is the expected head count. In this case, we'll just simply put 3. The next element on the form is the primary sponsoring department or organization. Let's select, you can search for an organization, and we will select Phi Beta Sigma. If there's an additional department or organization that will be a part of the event, you can add that as well. The next element on the form is the event type. In our case, if we are a student, as the instructions say, we're going to choose the student event type. If you're not a student, if you're staff or faculty, you're going to choose an event type that best corresponds to this type of event. In this case, we're going to go ahead and select student event. The next element on the form is the time and date that this event will take place. Let's go ahead and we will search for, let's say, Sunday, 24th, 11 to 12 p.m., 1 hour. If we chose to extend that time, of course, we could select it and go to 12:30. Additional time. If your event requires time before the event and time after the event, for setup and for takedown, this is where you would ask for that additional time for your setup or any pre-event activity, such as a mixer meet and greet before the actual event starts. And afterwards, you can have a meet or greet afterwards as well. And you can allocate time to take the equipment down so that the room will be available for the next event. In this case, we're not going to request any additional time. Meeting pattern. If you would like an event to occur on more than one day, you would have to select a meeting pattern. So if we click that, it will give you the options. You can have does not repeat, but if you would like to repeat, you can do ad hoc. That's if you don't have a particular pattern, maybe twice this week, once next week, and 3 times the week after that. That's an ad hoc pattern. Or you can do a daily meeting. a weekly meeting, or a monthly meeting. In this case, we're not going to repeat. We're just going to have a one-time occurrence. So we'll close that. The next element on the form is the location, the place that we would like to hold our meeting. So if we go down to the location search option, you'll see two checkboxes here. If we want to make sure that we don't have a location that has a conflict, meaning there's already an event existing there, we would go ahead and we would click that so that we're not shown any locations that currently contains another meeting. And we can enforce the head count. And since we're only using 3 people, we won't need to enforce the head count. But if we had a larger party, let's say 60 or 70 people, we don't want any locations that could not accommodate that. So in that case, we would click Enforce Head Count. In order to actually find the locations that you would like, you could click on Save Searches, and you could go through the predefined locations, any starred locations, which are locations that you have marked as your favorite. In 25 Live parlance, they call that starred locations. Here's a predefined search that will pull up every location, all spaces on campus, and we have spaces by buildings. Let's say we want to select Kilgore. These are all the locations within the Kilgore that are available to us. Where it says conflict details, it says none. And we would not expect any, since we did check the box to say hide conflicts. So let's find a location that has the smallest. 2 won't work since we have 3, but we don't want a room that's too large. So we'll take the room of 25, the Kilgore Student Lounge. So let's reserve that. The next element on the form is any additional information related to the event. For instance, if we need catering, we would click Yes, and we'll get a pop-up letting us know how to order catering. We could highlight this URL, or we can click it and it will open up another window and it takes us to our caterer. Let's close that. The next element is, do we need maintenance? HVAC, janitorial, electrical, pest control, location access, or any other type of maintenance for this event. If we do, we would click Yes. And we get a pop-up for this as well. We have a vendor called CWS that can be found at that URL. And here we could fill out the form to let us know the type of service that we need with that vendor. Let's go back to our form. Let's close that. The following questions are, will food or refreshments be served? So we'll say no, since we're going to cater it. Will this event be publicized? We'll say yes. How will this event be publicized? And we'll just say Facebook. Display this event on the Morehouse calendar? No, we don't need to put that on the Morehouse calendar. Will anything be sold at this event? No, we're not selling any merchandise whatsoever, so we'll say no. Will there be a charge for admission? Yes, we are charging for admission. What is the admission fee for this event? And the admission fee will be $5. The next section on the form refers to any resources that we would need to help us with our event. The first one is, the event requires parking. And we'll say, yes, it does. And in the comment, we'll say, we need parking near the football stadium. The next question is, does this event require AV, In this case, it does not, so we don't have any AV needs, but if we did, we would check it and describe exactly what we need as far as audiovisual is concerned. The next field, campus police should be aware of the following guests. Well, we don't have any guests that the campus police should be aware of, so we'll leave that blank as well. In the next field, it has the Office of Communications should be aware of the following guests. Again, we don't have any guests that the Office of Communications should be aware of. The next element are any comments related to location, resources, or publication to a calendar. Well, since we're not publishing to a calendar and we don't have any comments about the location or any of the resources, we're going to leave that blank. If you have any flyers, contracts, images, anything you would like to attach to this event, you have the ability to click the upload file and upload those documents as needed. Other documents would include layouts that you would like to have your location set up with. Finally, event state. As I stated before, since I am a 25 Live admin, I have the event state, which I can change to either draft or confirmed. You will not have event state on your form if you're not a 25 Live admin. Let's go ahead and submit the event by clicking the Save button in the lower right corner. Once your event is saved, you are immediately taken to the event itself. We're landing on the task list for the event. But let's go ahead and we'll go through each item on this event. Let's look at the details of the event request. In the details, you will see everything that we filled out on the form. You have the event name, the event type, which is student, the organization, which is Phi Beta Sigma, the head count, which is 3, the description of fun event. All of the custom attributes, the additional information that we wanted to supply to this event, such as the catering and all those questions, are recorded here. In this section where it says event info, it will tell us the requirements that we have. And we do have a requirement for parking. We need parking near the football stadium. And finally, it tells us the reference number. This number is a very important number. That's what you will use in order to find the event in 25 Live so that you can make changes or just view the status in the future. The cabinet is where the event is stored on the 25 Live system. The folder is within the cabinet. So we're storing this in the student events folder since this is a student event. Now let's look at the next option on our event request, which is the occurrences. Since we did not repeat, we only have a one-time occurrence, which is occurring on Sunday at 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. There are no other occurrences. And we are in the Kilgore student. The task list represents the workflow that your event must go through in order to be approved. The very first thing that must be approved is the organization. And the approver for the organization is here. That task is assigned to this individual. It's in progress, so they have not made a decision whether they're going to approve or deny this request. If your organization is approved, then the next stop past the event type in the organization will be the location assignment. And the location is the Kilgore Student Lounge, and it's already been approved because I am one of the approvers for that particular location, so it automatically approved that workflow. But if I were not an approver for that location, it would say pending the results of this first workflow step. The next step are any resources that we requested, but we did not request any resources, so there's 0 task here, no approvals to be done. The next item are any requirements, any special needs that we require to help us with our event. Well, if we click it and take a look, we did request parking and it's pending. That cannot be decided until these other steps have been completed. And that task has been assigned to these two individuals here. And the next task are the to-dos and the FYIs. We have one in progress. And because we chose student event as the event type, information FYI, which is in progress, has been submitted to Kevin Chapman. Kevin Chapman wants to be informed whenever an event is created that has that particular event type. The last three tabs we're not going to go over. The pricing, audit trail, and scheduled emails. They do not have any relevance to submitting requests since our request has already been submitted. Those are more advanced features that will come in later videos. Let's go back to the details. Let's make sure that we copy this reference number here. As I told you, that's the unique number that identifies our request in the system. So, if we go back to the main dashboard, and we can do that by clicking 25 Live at the top of the dashboard here, it takes you back to the main dashboard. Now, we were able to access the request form by clicking Event Form. But let's say we log on later on today, or tomorrow, or next week, and we would like to know what the status is on our particular event. And we will go to the middle of the dashboard, which shows your upcoming events. And you have events in which you are the requester and events in which you are the scheduler. Since I made a request, let's go ahead and we'll click these 5 events right here. These are all of the events in which I am the scheduler. If you go to the scheduler column, you'll see my name will appear there. If you want to get the latest and greatest, you would sort by the reference number. And when we sort, you'll see our first event. So that's one way to find your pending events. Let's go back to the main dashboard so that we could use a different method to find your pending events. In the quick search of your event, you go to the search events, and we will paste that reference number that we copied earlier. And when we do that, it takes us back to the event that we're looking at. So let's say some time had passed, a day or two, and we're not quite sure where we are in the workflow. So we will go ahead and click Task List. And that will tell you all of the steps in the workflow and where we are. In this case, we're still pending approval for this particular workflow, which is for our organization. Once that passes, it goes to the next step. And finally, I do want to mention that we're still in a tentative mode, which means we haven't been approved yet. Once this changes to confirm, you will receive an email letting you know that it's been confirmed. But also, when you created this event, you should have received the email as well. If you don't find an email notification whenever you create an event, you might want to check your junk folder or your spam folder. And if it's not there, maybe your organization uses an application that will quarantine any notifications that come from external sources. For my institution, we use Barracuda. So once I'm in Barracuda, I see that I do have one email that has been quarantined, and it was relatively recent. So let's click on it. And there you have it, our first request. That's why I did not receive my email request. but this is what the email would look like. So if you would like to deliver it using Barracuda, you would just click Deliver. And we're going to deliver and add the senders to your allow list. Let's go back to 25 Live. So there you have it. We were able to use the event request number to pull up the status of the event so that we could track it throughout the life cycle of the workflow. In conclusion, if you need additional help about any of the features that we covered today or any other topics related to 25 Live, you can always click on the Help button in the right corner of the dashboard, and it will take you to a lot of good documentation by CollegeNet, the vendor of 25 Live Pro. Thank you for watching.